hours. This Hangout Air is live.
I had
are
a
live.
lot more material planned.
For 8 hours, yeah, this it's going to be a full 8 hours. We can't go under that because Google Hangouts will not allow us to. So just keep that in mind. So this is the Modern Educator podcast, where we talk about how technology fits in today's education and how we can implement that kind of technology to better the students and provide a better educational environment. So my name is Matthew Mills. I'm IT Systems Administrator. And go ahead, guys, introduce yourself. Go, Jesse.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my name's Jessie. I've been teaching 6th grade this is my 6th year in Ogden, downtown Ogden.
Nice. Dean?
My name's Dean Glanville, and I'm Director of IT. I've been doing it for 30 years now.
I'm Andrew Otterstrom. I'm a system engineer for school district and just kind of doing the back-end server stuff.
Nice. So today's topic is virtual reality and augmented reality. So what I want to do is just briefly cover what those two things are, just so we can catch everybody up to the same topics, and then we're going to really dive deep into how it would look in the classroom. So Andrew, do you want to say a little bit on the difference between VR versus AR?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, kind of in a nutshell, if you've seen an image of somebody wearing some sort of funny black box on their head, so to speak, that's probably VR. They're staring into some lenses that basically screen look or feel like it's farther away from the person and essentially take up their entire vision so that they're just fully immersed in whatever it is they're watching. They'll often have some sort of sensor so it can detect what direction they're looking, so kind of give the immersive appearance, that they can freely look around or whatnot. Augmented reality, on the other hand, is something where you can see essentially through the screen. So you're able to see whatever's around you, in real life, and you can also see, whatever is being projected on the screen. So you could visualize, like, you've got, you're working on a car and you've got the instruction manual next to you, I think that's kind of in a nut.
Yeah, so
difference.
So a lot of different forms, like with the thing totally over your eyes, if it's looking out of the camera, it can kind of be considered as augmented reality. But if it's even sunglasses, so you have kind of a semi-permeable lens with it projected on there, then that's kind of augmented reality as well. But if it's completely covered and it's black and all you're seeing, a lot of time, or the latest technology has been taking your cell phone and plugging it into a box, Google Cardboard, for example, and that turns into kind of a 3D environment that's actually pretty immersive. Have you guys had experience with VR or AR before? Negative?
Yeah, unfortunately not. It's very cool someday, but unfortunately haven't.
Yeah.
The closest thing I can say that I've done is, at amusement parks they've got fly the airplane, or ride in a roller coaster and it bumps you around. I guess that's kind of the extreme of virtual reality. And those are a lot of fun, but you can't really go to Disneyland every time you want to teach a class on it.
Do you remember the one? I don't know if they still have it before, but it was like that space ride or something like that at Disneyland. They had this huge room on a bunch of hydraulics, and they were moving the room around, and it felt like you were in the box. Have you guys ever seen that before?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but does this count too? I mean, my husband he's kind of like a big gamer, and he got like do you guys see these?
Yeah.
Like
nice.
three, like he puts these on, and he has like the headphones thing here and speakerphones, and he puts them on, and it makes a 3D 72-inch screen where he can watch TV or play his video games, with just like using these glasses. They're really cool.
Nice. What brand are those glasses?
Hold on a sec.
Zeiss.
Zeiss? Here's the cover.
Oh, very good.
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, that's really cool. A couple other different products that are out there, like the Google Cardboard that I mentioned before, and it's like $6, or you can even make your own and slip your phone in there. A couple other products that have come out, the Gear VR, where it's the exact same setup. You put a Note 4 in the VR headset, and it's all optimized for the perfect size of that phone and everything like that, so you don't get some of the issues that you do get when you're just taking your normal phone and putting in there. A couple other fun ones, Oculus Rift. You can't do this podcast without mentioning those guys. They're kind of the pioneers in this whole process. Just a couple of different other things. But the one that's really, really interesting, and I want to go a lot into, is the HoloLens by Microsoft, where the products that I mentioned before are just straight VR. You can't see anything outside of them, but the Microsoft HoloLens is augmented reality, where essentially it's sunglasses that you can look through, and they actually place objects in your environment. Like an item on a table that's a couple feet away from you, or like a Netflix video on your wall, even though there's no TV on your wall. A really fun one has been like Minecraft, where you're actually manipulating houses and stuff like that that's sitting on your kitchen table, and then you can manipulate your wall, and they show a little cool demo where you explode your wall and you can look through and see this whole world that's been created by Minecraft. And some of the reviews that people have been giving as they've actually experienced that has been really, really neat. They're saying that the experience is even looks like Dean posted a link there, so you can take a look at that. The experience is actually better than what they demonstrate it to be, which is really exciting because everybody says it's super fun. What are your guys' initial thoughts on that before we go into how it plays into education?
I think, as I was looking at this, if you look at it from again, I kind of come from a business background, and there's so many times when, for example, I'm working with a lot of architects because we're building new buildings, and if there were an easy way for us to walk people through a building into a virtual reality world, and we've all seen those things that they can create, but there's anything right now where you could just say, oh, here's the building, this is what this room is going to look like. To me, that's an incredible opportunity, which is great for education, because if something is just for education only, it's a big market, but I don't know that it's as big a market as everybody, architects and gamers and everybody else that might want to investigate a real 3D world. So the Microsoft HoloLens, that's cool stuff, and it's actually, I can see uses for it beyond education, but then even in education, I saw, just researching for this podcast, it was like, oh, yeah, there's a lot of ways that I saw that people were suggesting that it might be used, and I thought, yeah, there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, definitely. Andrew?
I guess to me it kind of seems like the special thing that's happening right now isn't so much that a lot of this is new as much as it's just starting to become affordable. It's starting to, well, like Oculus Rift, you mentioned them, they kind of in a lot of ways popularized the idea. It kind of brought out the fact, oh, all these parts actually aren't that expensive anymore. We could probably do this. The augmented reality bit is incredibly exciting because it gives you the idea that, well, I could be working on something and I could be referring to, potentially a 3D diagram of what I'm working on, or say I'm out in the garden trying to do something and I don't know what I'm doing, so I've got a YouTube video, you know, of a gardener who knows what they're doing, and maybe I'm kind of referencing that, but I've still got my hands free and I can still see what I'm doing, but I've got this other thing going to help me do whatever I'm trying to learn.
Sure.
You know, and that I guess those are the kind of things that kind of excite me about it.
Definitely. Jesse?
I think it's lame. I'm just kidding. No, it really is amazing, and I kind of agree with both of you, but especially Dean, and I don't think we really even tapped the potential of this. And like you said, not just gaming or education, but I mean, lately I've had my head in the medical field. Think of what this could do for the medical field. I mean, practicing, certain procedures, or and also because it's connected with the 3D printing, right? And so I read an article where even with certain organs, they're trying to 3D print organs for people who need transplants. So this could be like, shaping that, and I know this is a little bit out there, but maybe not. And that was kind of one of the first things that hit me was really the potential of this, and not just, like he was saying, gaming or education or architecture, but medical field wise as well. It could be huge.
Yeah,
and training and everything. So.
Yeah, so talking about education and in the medical field, let's take a high schooler that maybe has some desires to be a doctor. Okay, so you put one of these on their head, and they have like maybe a cadaver in front of them, a virtual cadaver where they are able to manipulate that cadaver in every way that you would be able to in a college lab.
Exactly.
And be able to get in there. It's kind of exciting because they could even perform procedures like heart surgery and that type of thing, and be able to explore the human body in ways that you wouldn't be able to otherwise without some serious money going into it.
Yeah, along those same lines, I saw something very similar where they were doing a dangerous environment, and they were teaching kids about a dangerous environment, and the idea was it was sort of a game. The kids would wander through this virtual reality world and identify, dangerous situations, maybe, like a shovel that was laying the wrong way, and if you stepped on it, it'd pop up and hit you in the head, or things like that. And it's the sort of thing that you could never take a classroom full of kids into a dangerous environment and say, go find all these dangerous things, because you'd end up with a hurt kid or two. But you take them into this virtual world, and if they get hurt, well, it's just like a game, right? And you just regenerate and try it again.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. I would even do that. Even if it was a rake, I'd just step on it and see what happened. So what other fields inside the classroom do you think have a place with augmented reality?
I think it could be just about any of them. I guess one of the things that kind of jumps to my mind, along with what Dean was saying, is it kind of enables us to go places we can't ordinarily go. Whether that's a spacewalk, to be kind of a grandiose example. Maybe it's a historical building that halfway across the world that we couldn't see in person, and ideally we'd all rather be there probably to see it, but since that's not cost effective, we can get kind of the next best thing. As far as the medical stuff that was being mentioned earlier, you could potentially move that into a third world country where, there's not the money to bring in, all the facilities to give somebody the real experience, but maybe they could get the next best thing and, do those medical procedures in VR, and, I don't know, sky's kind of the limit.
I was kind of thinking about chemistry as well.
Science. That's where I was thinking. So much you could do with science,
Go for it.
On like my kids' level, 6th graders. We do astronomy. You could go in and see like portions of planets and manipulate them. and show like distances, because that's really hard for them. That's so abstract to be like, okay, try to imagine this. But now it's like, okay, let's go see it. Let's get into it, you know? And, oh, sorry, I interrupted you. I'm just getting excited.
No, that's exactly.
The best.
But really, I mean, you could do so much with just in science with that. And because with 6th grade we specialize in astronomy and we specialize in microorganisms. So like going into that and seeing, you know, things like that in action and manipulating those with like bacteria versus, you know, what happens when antibiotics hit it, or, you know, I mean, all that I just huge, way cool stuff. And I really loved too what Andrew was saying, like in history. I loved that. You, instead of like just like showing pictures, I mean, it's like, let's go there, you know? Oh, this is like Christmas for me. This is amazing.
It would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think the thing that's really, you know, important is if it is something like just something that uses like an iPad or an iPhone or some similar sort of device where each student can investigate on their own. The teacher can direct them, give them ideas. I want you to find this, that, and the other thing. But they can also go, you know, like in the historical thing, go to those places and maybe see some things, explore beyond that. And it's not just, you know, teacher on the stage saying, you know, do this, read this, here's my one picture I've got to show you this whole building, but let them go investigate it on their own.
Do you know what's amazing is that's actually available right now. I was playing with mine a while ago, and for example, there was a big concert. I forgot who it was. Hold on, let me find out. I got to figure it out. There was a big concert, Paul McCartney concert, and they placed this camera that had all of the different cameras all the way around, so you had this full 360 view, and they placed that camera right on top of Paul McCartney's piano. And so you're sitting here watching this, and you're looking down at Paul McCartney, and you're looking out to the audience, and so you get the full effect of the audience being right there, and the big fireworks going off of the stage and the flames, and you look around behind and you see the cameraman down there, and he's like moving his stuff around. It's all live. It feels like it's just really incredibly immersive. And so with the historical spots, you can easily do that. You can do you know, the cathedrals and anything like that, and be able to walk around and feel as if you were right there. And you can do that now, which is the amazing part, is that, you know, we talk about VR and AR and how, you know, the future, but a lot of this is just hitting so quickly, and it's really, really exciting.
Yeah, I've got a little example of that if you guys want to take a look at it.
Go for it.
All right, let me just bring it up. All right, you see that? Okay, so Google's had people walk around with backpacks around historical sites, and it's not necessarily full VR, but you could implement this. But I can, you know, kind of look around freely at this site, and then, you know, to some degree I can explore. I can go, okay, I want to go through there. I want to, you know, go up these stairs, you know, and then, you know, you can't quite go everywhere, but, you know, you can kind of browse around the site, and you can get a little bit of a feel for, you know, maybe the scale, and for, you know, kind of perspective of, you know, what it might be like to actually be there. Follow your curiosity and whatnot. And they've got a whole ton of different, you know, sites that they've done, and I think they're just continually adding more and more. But yeah,
that's really cool. That's really neat. So what's the difference between that you're doing on your computer and in virtual reality? What do you think the benefits are for something like that?
Well, I guess, you know, obviously you could have more photos, you could have a little bit more ability to explore. I mean, essentially, if you connect this up to, you know, something like the Oculus Rift or whatnot, there's no reason you couldn't just freely rotate your head around and and see. I was kind of using my mouse to manipulate it, which works, but it's probably a little less immersive to do it the way I was doing it.
Sure. So immersion is the big one. Do you think people get greater appreciation with that additional immersion?
I would think so. I mean,
well, can I speak?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm really excited about this. One of the, I think, other big selling points that we're not looking at, especially especially with elementary students, is math. I mean, yeah, we're talking about science and history, but think of the things we could do with math, especially the immersion part. Because with computers, yeah, you can manipulate things to a certain point, but the way that students learn, especially for number sense, like the basis of the math, of the knowledge that they need before they can go on to other things, they have to be able to think abstractly, and so it goes from like using manipulatives to pictorial to abstract. And the jump from manipulatives to pictorial is huge, and it's hard. And this would be able to close that gap.
How would it do that?
Because with being able, like, let me give you an example. A lot of my sixth graders cannot multiply, and they cannot subtract because they don't understand, like, number sense of our base 10 number system. Of when you get to 9, you have to switch it over to 10s, and then you start into the 1s again. But if you, and we try to use tools and stuff like that for as much as we can, but I mean, it gets pricey, they get lost, you have to, lots of things happen to them. But with this, I mean, they would be able to manipulate on their own these manipulatives for math and do hands-on. And even with algebra, I mean, it's not, we don't need to do it just for elementary kids, but in 6th grade we're also doing algebra, and being able to, like with algebra, I mean, it's all about balancing both sides, and so moving the numbers and the variables and things like that to make that gap from pictorial and manipulative to abstract close, and just being able to hit that skill alone will be huge. I mean, being able to touch that and say, move it to here, now it's in the 10s, now move these, what numbers do you have left, what does x equal now, and not just doing it pictorially, but physically clicking and moving those and doing math games and stuff like that would just be amazing.
I'm sure adding the motor skills in there as well can help remember. Oh, I can't even say anything. I'm sorry.
No, it does though, because that's where the big gap is. That's why so many students struggle, because they can't close it from what is actually going on, instead of just the rules of solving it, of what is actually happening to those numbers. So if we can show that and they can manipulate it, that gap will close and it won't be abstract anymore.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's absolutely.
And that just alone would be so huge. I mean, that would build on everything else. I mean, we'd get kids that would be doing better from the beginning and have more kids graduating and all those things, because math is such a hard hurdle for them. Especially where I am, where I have so many English as a second language learners. It's the communication of going from what this is to this majorly abstract idea in a language they don't even know is so hard. And being able to use this to show them, and instead of just trying to draw pictures and everything, but to say, move this to here, now what is it? Move this variable to here, now what does x equal? I mean, there won't be a language barrier anymore.
Wow.
It'll make sense to them, and I mean, really, it would be huge. It really could be in the classroom, in like you said, in any subject. But I mean, focusing on the core subjects would be your biggest bang for your buck. because then, I mean, and I know this is hard to hear, but I mean, history is great, but it's honestly right now not a core subject.
Right.
Especially with Common Core going on right now, which I'm sure you guys have heard. You know, I mean,
yeah.
history is almost gone. I mean, if I can teach history if I have time, you know, and so it's like, but finding these other ways to save time and to put this program into the core subjects, it'll make more time so I can go back and do history and things like that. So just really good there, being able to apply it to those.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Any other comments?
You know, I would be concerned, you know, from a practical perspective, you know, as schools are often underfunded. You know, how would one go about this? Is this, you know, and when, as I mentioned before, I'm working with building the new schools, and I've got a term I call, we need the holodeck room. And every new school we build, we don't know what the new technology is going to be 20 years from now. Maybe it is a holodeck. You know, talk about the ultimate in virtual reality. But we need a space where we can put that new technology, because it's going to be too expensive. You know, back in the day, nobody could afford a computer in the room. You all had to go down to a lab. And now most classrooms have at least 1 or 2 computers in them. So is this something that we have to, you know, wait till Oculus Rift comes down to an inexpensive price, or is it enough that we have just 1 or 2 in a classroom, and, you know, we have 1 or 2 students that can be doing it at any one time?
I actually heard a couple of people talking about this same subject, and they came down to the conclusion that it's just going to be a white room. Like when you have the VR headset on, or even AR headset, and you have virtual items in the room that you're manipulating and doing all that, then essentially all you need is a white room that you can move around in. Which is kind of exciting, because the only expense that you have is what they're wearing on their head.
That's true. That's true. I mean, yeah, if you look at it that way, because, you know, if it's a $300 headset and a computer behind it, you know, well, that's what we already have a room full of computers, so maybe it is just the cost of the headset.
And with that, I mean, there are grants out there that people just don't know about, you know, but I agree. I mean, cost is the biggest problem, but I think being Title I and having opportunities for grants that maybe some schools don't, you know, I mean, I'm like you said, I mean, before we would say that, I mean, computers, there's no way we could have one, but it's like, I have an iPad now for every kid in my class, you know, and so it's just a matter of knowing who and how much and what you can do for that, but I think that there would still be a way to make it happen.
Sure, and there's a couple of different levels that you can implement it. I mean, right now, like I said, the Google Cardboard's like $6, and then almost every high school student has a phone of their own, and you can be able to integrate your own, you know, bring your own device type of scenario and be able to do something like that. Or even just as an extra credit assignment today. That's something that you can do today. And then as time goes on, the AR headsets, you know, Microsoft Hololens, will be more popular. You know, it isn't even released right now. They just barely announced it as in kind of a concept, but here's a proof of concept type of scenario. And so it's all on the big stuff, I believe, is on the horizon, and it's going to get bigger and better from there. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, it seems like the hardware is almost there, and probably the biggest thing that we're you know, well, hopefully not too far from, is just having lots of content. You know, all the math stuff just needs to be created, you know, and you know.
Yeah, content's a big one. I mean, someone's got to make the content, right?
Yeah.
And that'll take some time. So. Another aspect that I thought would be really interesting with augmented reality specifically is distance education. So I have a distance education background. I went to Utah State University and afterward worked at their distance ed program as their IT guy. And for one of the remote centers. And so I was always, working with the equipment, working with the teachers to make sure that everything looks good on their end and they're able to interact with the students that are at remote sites. It was a really, really fun job. And I definitely see an application for that with the Microsoft Hololens.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you'd be able to... Okay, so let me lay out the current environment now, and then you can kind of get an idea of where it's going from there. So there's a central place where the teacher stands at the back of a room and gives their lecture. And they have PowerPoints, they have movies, they have all that fun stuff. And then they're at the other side of the room are these big TVs where they can sometimes see the students. But depending on how many sites there are, those students become smaller and smaller and smaller, and so with the IT person there in the room, they're able to show the person that's talking on the big screen so that the teacher can interact with them on a live basis. So with the VR headset though, or VR or even augmented reality, they would be able to... The student would be able to sit in the same room essentially as the teacher. So they'll be able to look at their coworkers to the left, to the right, and be able to be in the same room. And that is the biggest problem that distance education has right now, is because the students feel disconnected from the teacher. And there's a lot of ways of overcoming that teachers are constantly bringing into their lessons. Think, pair, shares, all sorts of different methods to be able to have more interaction with their students, even though they're at the remote sites, and so they don't fall asleep and miss all the content and that kind of stuff. What do you guys think about that? What's your initial impressions?
I think that's really cool. So I've looked into similar things with Polycom and Cisco have these rooms that you can build that have virtual reality, and it feels like you're sitting right across from somebody. But at $100,000 a room, and you need at least two of them because you have to have both sides. So you're looking at $200,000 to set one of these rooms up. And as wonderful as they may be, that's a crazy amount of money for school districts. But now I just look at what we're doing here. We're both each at our own locations, running on laptops. We don't have a huge investment for this, even just in the Google Chat arrangement, and it's really quite immersive just here. I feel like I'm talking with everybody. But if you had that, even the next step, like you say, where if I turn my head, instead of seeing, like right now I see folks down at the bottom of my screen, if I could just turn my head and see Matt over here and Jesse over here and Andrew right in front of me, how much more would you feel like you're right there in the room? Yeah, I love that idea, and I think the technology is pretty close to being there. Those $100,000 rooms are going to be, if they're not already dinosaurs, they're close to becoming dinosaurs.
Yeah, it's really disrupting the whole industry with these type of products that are coming out, which is very exciting. Disrupting it in a good way, for sure. Any other thoughts?
Actually, yeah, my husband kind of ran into the same thing. I mean, he was doing distance, education, and he had classes and stuff in Florida, and it was really hard. I mean, it was hard for him to stay focused and to get a hold of the teacher when he needed to, and the lesson is a lot harder to do that because the engagement is so low. And so, yeah, I agree with you. I think that we would see a lot more graduation numbers and things like that if that was happening.
Yeah, and it totally deletes borders. I think as long as the language barrier is minimal, there's no more geological barriers. There's no borders, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, and we talk about, like distance learning, but it really doesn't even have to be that far. I was in a meeting yesterday and we were talking about the classes that we would like to teach as a district, but we just don't have the students in each school. So, like for example, at our high school level, we wanted to teach an engineering class, but there's not enough students in any one high school to justify it. But if we could combine all of those students into one classroom, then there are enough students to do that. But the logistics of that become impossible. Do you bus all the students to a central location? And then, of course, they lose time in busing versus maybe, there's just a room in the library where they go and they have these inexpensive headsets that they can put and then interact with the teacher, interact with each other, and then when that period's done, they go to their next class. And that's just local here to us in our own school district.
Yeah, that's really neat. I think that would be fun to see that implemented. I hope I see that, with my kid. He's super duper young, but I'd love to see him involved in that when he begins school. Any other thoughts? Good to close up, or you guys got any other topics you want to talk about?
I'm done. I don't know that I have any more topics, but boy, I sure do want to encourage developers and folks to really go after this, because I just see there's a huge demand out there. It's just, the first people that move into this are going to have an opportunity, and I just want to encourage folks to do it.
It's definitely worth it. And kind of what Dean was saying too, with the classroom thing, I really loved that. I mean, saying that there weren't enough kids. But think of, on the other hand, the money too that they'd be saving trying to get everybody together and busing and all the different teachers that they would need for the different locations. I mean, honestly, in the long run, I mean, we'd be saving a lot of money for our district and with those kinds of things, because I mean, they just wouldn't think it would be worth it. But now, like you said, it's possible, and even efficient.
You would have even your pick from the best teachers as well, because
exactly
you would be able to grab any teacher from as long as they had that hour set aside. They're in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, good. Andrew, any last thoughts?
Not too much. I mean, I guess the main thing is, even though maybe we don't have quite all the content that we need for, full VR or whatnot, there's a ton of content out there that's getting close. I mean, like, I don't remember if it was Dean who was saying, well, we're having this conversation right now, being via Hangouts, and it may not be VR presently, but highly effective. There's a lot of stuff we can do even right now. We might not have the glasses on, but we can still browse a historical site. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that, hopefully we get there soon where we've got, full VR with everything, but, there's just a ton we can do right now.
So, Jesse, what do you think we can do right now? Like, talking about your classroom, what would you be able to implement, this week?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing from especially what Andrew was just saying is being aware of what is out there right now, because I think there are so many teachers, myself included, especially lower budgeted districts like Ogden, who can't afford for their teachers to go to professional development classes to know what is out there even, and so I think, like what Andrew was saying, there are a lot of things right now. We just need to get our teachers knowing what is out there. Like that thing you just showed us with going through those ruins. I've never seen that before. I was like, wow, and so I mean, that's something for me even that I would like to implement immediately. I mean, I just saw that, and like I spend a lot of time on Google Earth and how you can flip it and do like the outer space part too. I mean, we do that all the time, but being right there into that site instead of just clicking on the picture to say, here it is, but walking through it like that, I mean, I had no idea. And so I think the biggest thing I'm taking away is just being educated on what is out there now that I can use. So.
Bingo. And that's the whole purpose of this podcast, really. I mean, to be able to share with other people exactly what's out there, what's going on, and how to implement in their classroom. So thanks for that plug.
I'll spread the word.
Very good, very good. Hey, so this is the Modern Educator podcast on AR and VR and all the stuff in between. The future looks bright, and we're very, very excited to see what happens. Any last thoughts before we close up?
Just that I think this is cool, and I didn't know about it, and now that I do, I'm excited.
Sweet, sweet.
So, because I think that they're, like I said, we just got iPads in our school this year, and a lot of us got these, and we're like, what do we do with them?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that this kind of stuff is going to really help us know the possibilities and tools that we can do, that I can take back to my school and my team like tomorrow. So I just want to say thanks for doing this, Matt.
Sure. Hey, no problem. With the iPads, though, even if you don't have a headset, you can use your iPad and kind of look around in those environments as well. I encourage you to look up those. Those are very, very immersive, even if you don't have them strapped to your head.
Awesome.
So you can find us on YouTube, where we have all of these. You can also find us on our website, themoderneducator.com. And subscribe, make it happen. We got a bunch of videos already. We've got a lot of views, and we're excited to provide this service for free to everyone. And that's it. So sign out from the Modern Educator. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.